Hello, ambitious entrepreneurs. Sheila Batello here. I am a self-care strategist, host of the Connect with Sheila Batello podcast, and I am creator of the Seasons self-care app. And today we're talking all about how to improve with your wellness, your worth, your well-being when it comes to your overall health. And I'm so excited to have my guest join me today. And I'll be sharing a little bit with you about her when I see her accept the joining, push the little join button. And we're just going to allow people to get onto this live as well. And in the meantime, I want to ask you a question. I want you to take stock about where you're at in terms of your goals, how you feel about the progress that you're making in your business goals, your financial goals, your relationship goals, and your well-being goals. Because sometimes we separate everything out and we compartmentalize all of those different things happening in our lives. And we realize that sometimes we put more weight on some goals than others. Do you find that to be true? So how is it going for you? Do you feel like you're going really full force in a few areas or maybe one key area and then another part of your life is suffering? Well, this is something that is really common. So if this is you, you're in good company. A lot of us, when we are building something really exciting in our life, when we are wanting to grow and expand and see that we can actually make advancements in our lives in one area, we kind of put all the other areas on the back burner very often, or we don't give them the attention that maybe they need, when really, in fact, some of those things could help us get further faster. And one of those areas is your well-being, your wellness, how you're caring for yourself. And it looks like Tami is here. That is my guest, Tami Robinson, and it's Wellness with Tami is her handle. I'm going to add you into the room in a moment. Welcome, welcome. Now, Tami is a yoga therapist, an author, and a coach, and she is really inspired to help professionals who are very busy in their lives with big goals go after those things, but from a place of overall well-being. And you're going to hear her story. You're going to hear where she came from, where she went to, and we're also going to talk about the women, worth, and wellness piece. Because it's so important. There's all inextricably linked. What we allow for ourselves is often based on what we think of ourselves, right? Our worth, it's very interesting. It helps us to make decisions in every area of our life. So I'm going to bring Tami on now, and it'll just pause for a quick moment, but here we go. And here she is. Tami,
Hi.
so good to see you. Oh,
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor.
oh, thank you. I'm just so glad that you were able to make this happen because it's been a while since we've actually connected. And we spent a lot of time in Zoom rooms together over the last several years. So
We
it's fun
sure
to be on
did.
another screen. And so, Tami, I've let everyone know a little bit about who you are, but I would love for you to share what is your, like in your own words, describe who you are, what you do, and then maybe tell me how you came into this work. Because I know you have a really interesting story. I'd love for people to hear it.
Absolutely. Yes. So I currently am a yoga therapist, as you mentioned, and a coach and author. And I help busy wellness professionals and yoga enthusiasts take better care of themselves, feel better in their bodies and minds, and do things they didn't think they could do. And I do that primarily through coaching, meditation, breath work, and yoga postures featuring something called the Great Yoga Wall. So just a couple words about what that is. If you've ever seen aerial yoga before with silks hanging from the ceiling, it's a very similar concept, but instead of silks hanging from the ceiling, we have adjustable belts that plug into different spaces in the wall, which allows for an infinite possibility of different variations of the poses that you can modify to suit your unique body. So that's what I'm doing now. Where I came from and why I'm so passionate about helping people take better care of themselves and feel better on their bodies and minds is that I came from a place of burnout after having had an award-winning career in the US federal government doing national security related research and analysis, as well as leadership development training there. And it was a really, really rewarding career. I loved it. And at one point, my colleagues and we kind of solved the problem that we were working on. And so one of my bosses said, Tammy, you might as well retire now. Usually, you work on your problem for a career and it never gets solved, but here you guys have solved it. So you might as well just retire now. And he was joking, but I kind of, said, well, I'm feeling kind of worn out and maybe it is time to do something different. And while I had an impact on the macro level, kind of the world global level, I realized that there are always going to be problems there as long as we are in ourselves, not taking care of ourselves and not feeling peace within ourselves. That old Lao Tzu poem of, there has to be peace between states, cities, neighbors, and within the self first before we can have peace in the world. So I really took that to heart, and that's when I started doing the leadership development training. And then from there, I was practicing yoga off and on all of my life. My little studio that I was practicing in at the time got this thing called the Great Yoga Wall, and I absolutely loved it. It gave me deeper stretches than I'd ever been able to have before. I had been doing a lot of weight training, and so those deep stretches were something I really needed. And the owner of the studio said, you love it so much, how'd you like to go study with the guy who does the training on this and who is part owner of the company and come back here and teach? Well, I ended up going for the training, and then within a year, I had gone back several times for more training and left my stable yet hectic job with the US federal government to move to California, which is where I'm originally from, to go and study with him full time and begin my journey in the wellness space.
I know I've heard the story before, but oh my gosh, it never gets old because it's like literally two completely different sides of work and of a lifestyle, like completely different. I do love that you had yoga kind of ground you through the process. I can only imagine the type of stress involved when you're dealing with national security. Hello, especially in the last couple of decades. My goodness. And so, what a beautiful story. And so I know that you have come through this and you've served clients and you do workshops and you have all these different ways that you've served people. And when we were spending our time in the business incubator we were in, it was about how do you leverage your time some more, you love what you do, and how do you get this word out to more people? And so you were really rethinking what your offering was. And so maybe share a little bit about this is interesting. Share a little bit about that time and what you were thinking, like the process in your mind of where you were at, where you wanted to go next now that you had found this new passion of yours. And also, part B, I'd love for you to address the worthiness and the wealth portion, because that's really the series is very about this, because we know people working in wellness spaces, especially yoga, thinking about profitability is not really the first thing that comes to mind. So maybe speak to those two things.
Absolutely. So, so let me address the worth one first, because I've really been thinking a lot about this since we set up this call. It's so important. And I was really lucky in that the teacher that I moved to California to study with, through him, I met my teacher who's in India. His name is Jahangir Palkiwala. And he really kind of blessed me in a tough love moment conversation where he was like, getting on me for not putting myself out there more, because I was hesitant. I was like thinking I wasn't worth it. I needed to learn more. And he said, Tammy, you are enough. You know enough and you are enough. Just share what you know. Just share what you know. And you hit on a really important point in asking this question, which is that in the wellness industry, that's so uncommon for people to really bless you with that and to really kind of feel that and take that in. We run ourselves ragged going from class to class as yoga teachers all over, different spaces. If you own a studio, it's really, really a labor of love and, just often so challenging. And as we've seen, the industry change over and over through the pandemic times and beyond now. But what I see primarily coming up in the people that I work with are two different categories of, kind of how worth plays into what we do. And one, I'm sure you see this with your people as well. One is that we don't put ourselves out there and we put everyone else first because we don't feel that inherent worthiness. And so we end up running ourselves ragged. And the other is working so hard to prove our worth that we run ourselves ragged. And so those two, like, if there's one thing that I wish that people would ever take away from me, it's to know that if you keep down that path, you won't have anything to give. You won't be able to help anyone. And that's just such an important part of what I do.
Yes, I am so happy that that is something that you're speaking on and modeling. Because I know you take impeccable care of yourself and you invest in yourself, your well-being and the things that you're passionate about, like things that maybe people on the outside may think, really, like, wow. And it's helping you be more and share more and be able to help lead people better. I agree. It's that whole adage of, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
And we know that, right? But doing it, actually putting it into practice is so challenging sometimes.
It really,
So what is,
yeah.
for someone sitting here listening saying, yes, 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 but you don't understand, Tammy. I have all of these different things that are going on in my life, and I'm the person. What would you say to them from a practical standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, really, like if you're the only person, then that's a problem. Because if you keep giving, you're not going to have anything else to give. And what's going to happen to all those people that you love and that you care for when you can't give anymore? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I would ask them that question, and then we would, problem solve to see like what else can we do? Like if you can't drop everything and go take a nap, okay, fine, but who can you ask for help so that maybe you can get some rest? Who can who can you hire in your business, or how can you, change your pricing structure so that you can do less and have more? How can you focus on the activities, of course, as you know, that are bringing in the 80%, the 20% of activities that are bringing the 80% of your return, all of those things. But the main message is if you keep going, you're not going to be able to give. And then you're really going to be leaving those that you care about high and dry.
It's almost like playing the movie to the end, right? Okay, if I keep going, how much more can I go? How sustainable is this? And what is the end result? Like if you look at where you're at right now, like are your relationships really where you want them to be? Are they thriving? Or do you feel like, okay, I just need to get past this next launch, or I need to, I just need to push harder for a few more months and then I'll be able to invest. And what's very interesting, and I've seen it so many times where relationships that are not invested in them because they're in that push time all the time. Sometimes it's too late to say, okay, now I'm going to backpedal. Okay, now, hey, because frankly, it's like a muscle. Would you agree? Like we've been practicing flexing this muscle of going hard, that to just say, okay, now I'm going to do it differently. That's a nice thought, but I think it's a little different, right? And
Exactly.
so yeah, I think that's a great question. And what do you think about the whole as we talk about nervous system healing and things, any kind of shift, making a big shift can be so, you know, cataclysmic for our nervous system that we actually freeze and then we don't make the change or we crash. What are some small things that we could do to actually practice these? Like, I love the idea of practicing asking for help. Like, what could that look like? Do you think? Like, what are some, I mean, and we've experienced in our groups together. Maybe share some of your favorite ways to practice getting help in small ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, if you're a wellness business owner or any other business owner, hiring people is super super important. To me, getting the right kind of coaching is also super super important. And as we have learned from our other times together, I do a lot of those just little snacks of nervous system healing throughout the day where I can just, jump on my yoga ball and hang if I need to just let things go. Or if I feel like super high energy and I'm a little too stimulated, maybe I might dance it out or shake it out. If at the same point, if I'm like feeling dysregulated and kind of too slow and brain foggy, then I might do something similar to that. I'll do a pose. I'll often also just sit and reflect on some of the yoga philosophy that really helps me in these moments. So getting back to that, that person, what would you tell them if, they're saying, that's not, yeah, that's you, Tami, I can't do that. What would you say to them? If they're someone who practices yoga, they know the importance of what we call the yama, the restraints, which are how we interact with the world around us. And the very first one is violence. And you can't expect, or not, it's not violence, it's anti-violence, non-violence, peace, right? And so what we try to practice is, to be peaceful and non-violent and kind towards everyone else, but people forget that piece of being kind to themselves. And if they're not kind to themselves, then they're at the same time being not kind to someone else. So touching base with those kinds of things are also some of the little snacks that I do throughout the day.
I love that. Wow, it's like really getting foundation. And you're right, it's we can feel on top of how we want to present ourselves in the world and how we're treating people. Like we often will, many people will put themselves at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. And the you get the scraps at the end of the day for what, caring for yourself. But even something someone told me once is they like to, while they're brushing their teeth in the morning, before they're about to start brushing, they'll just say, "Hey, George." Right? And there's actually a Mary J. Blige song that I love, and it gets you teary depending on how you're feeling. It's called "Good Morning, Gorgeous,"
Mm.
and it is really just like talking about those things that we say to ourselves sometimes, and then saying, "So I look in the mirror and I tell myself, 'Good morning, gorgeous,'" you know, and she goes on the song, but it's like framing ourselves like, okay, say some nice things to yourself and start to really believe these things by practicing them over time. But I love how you have shared the embodiment piece, because I think we might think all these great things, but if we're holding on to so much stuff that has not felt good, that's never been released in our bodies, then it's really hard to make progress. I love these embodied practices. Is there a specific, like, because the yoga wall is it's so different. It's like I'd never heard about it since, actually before meeting you or since actually. It is very, it's its own niche. So what would be something that you actually guide people through, like one of your programs, where people can get an idea of how it works? Maybe you can describe that a little bit more. And then what kind of practice would be really good for someone in this situation that we've just been discussing?
Absolutely. So this also kind of gets back to that other question you asked about what have I been doing since we were together? Yeah. So I have created an online course finally. It was something that I wanted to do for so long, but was unsure of which topic to focus on. And this yoga wall training kind of fell into my lap. My teacher that I moved to California to study with, unfortunately, he passed away in 2019. And his wife asked me, she now has his half of the business, and she asked me to just, continue his legacy. And, as much as I wish he was still here, because he taught the yoga wall like no one else ever can. As much as I wish he was still here, it's just such an honor to be able to try to fill his shoes. And so one of the ways that we've done that is through, or that I've done that is through creating this online course. And so typically the training in the past, and still we do these live sessions, they're 3 days, 18 hours over 3 days of intense yoga posture practice where we cover all different kinds of postures that you can do with the yoga wall, all level 1. But during that time, we never get through everything. And Brian was the same way. Whenever he taught the courses, it was different every time, and we never got through everything in the manual. And so what I did is I created an on-demand course that includes all of the standing poses called Stand Strong. And it's the on-demand courses. We have live sessions, we have a community, we do it in a cohort fashion so that we all go through this experience together. And really what people get from that is they get a sense of what it's like to create safety working with the yoga wall. That's the very first thing we do, is go over the safety principles. They learn all of the different equipment so that they feel safe with it and start to become familiar with it. They learn where to put the belts on the wall, on themselves, and how to do all the different variations of the postures. And so, back to this theme really of nervous system regulation and worth, this embodied practice of learning how to best stand strong in your own individual, unique way based on your body, and not just your body, but your nervous system, your mind, where you are in life, because that changes over time. And the yoga wall is a really great tool for helping us to be able to change our practice with it. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to really get that embodied sense of feeling strong and stable.
That is so great. And I'm looking at your background. Is that a yoga wall behind?
It sure is.
That is so cool. And so there's like you hook different types of, now what is it? Is it a silk that you're hooking in there? Like maybe show us how this works if you can.
I could show you. So we have different kinds of belts here. I'll use the red ones because they're a little bit easier to see. And you just plug them into the wall like so, and then pull down.
Oh, wow.
It snaps into place. The prototype was safety tested to withstand 1,500 pounds of pull. And at that point, the plate is still fine, but the plywood starts to fail. So I always tell people, unless you weigh more than 1,500 pounds, you're going to be safe on the yoga wall.
Right.
So it just plugs in like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could do all kinds of different things with it. You can move it around. I'll just back up and show one quick pose.
Yeah, sure.
That's okay.
This is so cool.
Good. So you can do something like half moon pose. Oh, you can't see me.
No, I can.
Down. Let me turn it down. So the nice thing that I love is you can do things that maybe you can't do on your own. So some people, like with a balancing pose, might have trouble balancing.
Yes.
Yeah. But you could do something like this. And then instead of being like this and all wobbly in the center of the room, you can actually stretch more and get that lift and that length all through different ways of that you can stretch in the pose.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And so is this, you're at your studio right now then?
Yes. I just have a small space in my home on our first floor. And this is where I work with people. So.
Oh, that is so great. And so, okay, with the yoga wall, then, are there different places all over North America where they like where maybe how would we find? Do you have like a location finder in your information?
So that is something that the Yoga Wall company has on their website. So I should also just give a quick, affiliate disclaimer. I
Yeah.
don't get any money from the Yoga Wall company. If someone takes training with me and then goes by and buys more equipment, there's no affiliate link or relationship in that way. But if you do buy something from them and you decide you want to find some training, they'll link to me and
Oh, I
to
love
just,
that.
refer you to me. So
That's
that's
great.
that. They also have a page on their website with studios that have the Great Yoga Wall. That list, I do have to say, is a little bit out of date since the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're looking for something nearby, I would just do a search for yoga wall
Yeah.
near me, that kind of thing. And it's worldwide. People all over the world have this. In fact, the last training I did, I had someone who was in Indonesia and calling in the middle of the night for our live
I
sessions.
love that so much.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So it's a beautiful, beautiful tool that people all over are getting some benefit
oh,
from.
yeah. Well, I think this is just such another interesting, fun way for people to get the exercise happening. And you know what I really understand, like we know about weight training, like you had said you did a lot of weight training and you might still do that. I probably do. Got our muscles strong along with our tendons. Although I really think, yoga it takes so much strength. Anytime I do it, I'm like, this is more of a workout than when I'm doing my weight, right? So it's all good. But what I was going to say was in relation to people going through and doing these things that are good for their body, like physically, the mental benefits are incredible because I understand like lifting weights and doing like rock climbing, doing anything different. It helps your brain continue to be building new connector points. So if you have a concern about, well, mental health is one thing, but definitely Alzheimer's or any kind of, degradation of brain health later on, which is big in my family. It's like trying new things, but physical things, it really helps support the health of your brain. So this is a really fun way to do it.
Absolutely. Yes. In fact, I just wrote about that recently with respect to meditation and the links between cognitive decline and how meditation can help with that. And what the yoga wall allows us to do is come into more of a meditative state when we're in a pose because we're not so worried about all the other things we have to do to stay in the pose, which are beneficial, right? It's beneficial to practice in the center of the room and to have to use those muscles and to have to find our strength in order to do the pose. And there are other ways to practice too, which is just one of the great things that I love about the yoga wall is that it helps you do the pose in the middle of the room after you've practiced it with the wall. But if you're needing something different, you can use the wall for more support.
Or if you're like, you've just come off of a trip and you've been gone for a while, you're like, okay, I got to get my sea legs again. Or if you're just, maybe you're just wanting to practice really gently and maybe at a certain time of your life, getting back from an illness, maybe postpartum or whatever, just cyclically where you want that extra support. It's so nice to know that it's there. And I love that concept that you mentioned about it being more meditative because you feel supported. Like, oh, no,
Mhm.
not going to fall over. So good.
Yes.
Amy, I love this so much. And I would love for you to share. Obviously, they can follow you here on this channel. You're also on LinkedIn. And maybe tell them where to find how to work with you in terms of your programs, etc.
Yes. So the best place to find out where to work with me is my website, which is wellnesswithtami.com. And Tami is spelled Tami. So wellnesswithtami.com. And then of course I'm available here on Instagram and on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Well, everyone go check it out. I myself, now that I've seen, because it's interesting, we've talked about it, but I never had actually gotten to the place of seeing practice it. This is something I'm going to be doing a little research on after my travels. So thank you for being here, Tami. I look forward to being in touch again, obviously offline as well. It'll be fun to do that and just to hear how continue to grow and thrive for you and your love and for all the things that you're doing in the world. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's been just such an honor to be here and so fun to just get to chat with you about these topics that I know we're both so passionate about.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. I think they really go a long way for us all being able to finally just shine our light, get out there, feel good, and give ourselves that permission that really only we can give ourselves. And in doing so, be an inspiration, just like you are to.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Sheila.
Uh,
Wow, so great to see
you
you.
too. And thank you, everyone who is watching the replay, anyone who joined live. Appreciate you. And we'll have this up on the Connect with Sheila Botelho podcast as well at a later date. So stay tuned. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Big blessings.
Bye.
Bye.